All right.
And we're live.
Hello, my name is Neil Waldhauer. I serve on the Warpstock Board of Directors. We are pleased to present Warpstock 2020. This year, the Warpstock conference will be online only. We miss having an in-person event, and we hope we will be able to hold one again in the future. Today, we will present a few interesting topics. You can send comments and questions to us using YouTube chat or Internet Relay chat. We will have a 15-minute break partway through the event. Our first topic for Warpstock 2020 will be Dmitry Kuminov presenting the new web browser for OS2. Dmitry Kuminov is a highly skilled developer working for Bitwise Works. Okay, Martin, give us Dmitry.
Fine right now.
Okay. Okay. Welcome everybody. I'll give a very brief update on OS2 Voice, and then we'll go on to the big chunk of this presentation. Yeah, sorry, I'm hearing a weird echo. When I hear myself talk, there is an echo coming back after about 20 seconds. One moment, let me do something about it because it's pretty confusing. There, that's better. Let's see here. I'm sorry for the fonts that are a bit mixed up. There is still some activity happening at OS2 Voice. What has happened since May of 2020 is that some people have heard the long-standing initiative of rpmos2voice.org. That's still being worked on. We've received about 20 to 30 RPM packages from the community. We've been testing them. Some of them are not working, so we're first doing some good quality assurance and standardizing them with basic naming conventions, formatting the file names correctly, and also making certain that dependencies are working correctly. So the other thing of which the cogwheels have been in motion for some time, Voice will be funding the first round of development of a new object-rex port for OS2 with shell integration. Will be done by Glassman from, I'm not certain, I think he's from Russia, and he's already done a lot of the Echo software development, such as file open container, Zippy, and DVD toys. The new system that we put up 2 years ago is also getting attention. So there's a LinkedIn page, there's Twitter, Facebook, and people are reading those messages. I know that social media should be used for interacting with people, so I try to do that as time permits, but yeah, that is kind of time. I'm kind of strapped for time with all of the other activities. So depending on COVID-19 and where we are, I'm still hoping that in the next, somewhere in January or February, we might know some more, and if we can maybe do a Warpstock Europe in Frankfurt. It was originally planned for last year, but then it was turned into a digital Warpstock. The big chunk of this presentation will be devoted to a new browser. To summarize, Firefox 45 is slowly running out of gas. It was made in 2017. I am not the only person that's having issues with accessing new websites, which, to summarize it, use new web technology and the rendering engine in the browser that turns the pages that are downloaded into something that you can see on your screen and can click on. That rendering engine will be falling behind further and further. But we've been working on a solution, as you know, for a browser, and there will be a demonstration day of the new browser engine, and it has progressed very far. I can use it here. I can visit now for the first time in about 1.5 years, I can log on to pages like LinkedIn and other pages that use so-called HTML5 elements, and so it's working. So, but more on that later. As I said, there will be a new warp stock, and we hope to do that in the 3rd week, but that's depending on COVID. I think that the short version is, how viable is OS2. We've got a new browser coming. Arkanoa is working on UEFI support. They've done a blog post on GPT support. There is USB 3.0 that's now readily available. So yeah, I think that as a community, we've always been used to, well, running a bit behind on certain items, but yeah, we're a small community, so people that I speak from outside the OS2 community are amazed at what we get done, so I think we certainly deserve a pat on the shoulder for that. If you're interested to write an article for Voice, go to contact me, or then a posting can be done on articles.os2voice.org. And if you want to give us financial support, which you'll hear more about in the upcoming presentation from Dmitry and me, you can go to os2voice.org/membership. So that's a quick run-up where Voice has been. Martin, can you please call Dmitry, or are you still here? Yes, sorry.
I'm still here, sure.
Yes. One moment, please. Where is it? Here it is. Oh, one moment. Let me...
Okay. I think it will be better if you will lead and I will join you as needed.
Can you see the slides, Dmitry, or not?
Yeah, now I can see them, but I'm on my mobile and I don't have a computer with me, so it's better that if you will run through them and I will comment on harder questions.
Basically, this is a joint presentation from me, Roderick, from OS2 Voice, and Dmitry Kuminov from Bitwise Works. Herbig Bauernfeind couldn't join because of private issues, and Sylvan is also occupied currently. He really wanted to join, but due to private issues, it hasn't worked out as planned. So that's why Dmitry and I are doing a joint presentation. If you basically look at the OS2 community, there is a rough divide, basically. There's Arkanoa doing the development of the operating system and all of the accompanying device drivers, and releasing the operating system, which itself is a gigantic task. And then there's Bitwise Works GmbH from Austria, and it's co-owned by Sylvan Scherer, Herbig Bauernfeind, and Dmitry Kuminov.
Kuminov is my last name.
Oh, sorry.
It's not a problem.
Okay. What Dmitry, Sylvan, and I have been trying to make clear over the years is that the few applications that you can buy in their web shop to provide them their sponsorship is far from just that. It's a gigantic task. In May of this year, they had already updated 160 libraries and software. All of the DLLs you're currently using on your system, like Samba, Firefox, Thunderbird, Cups, it all leans on libc, etc. So
I
sorry.
can say that mostly everything besides the operating system itself and its drivers is made by Bitwise. I can put it that way. Every other bit of software out there, especially new releases of current versions, are made by us. Of course, there are some older programs, like from the 90s or something, uh, which still are usable to some degree, but everything new comes from Bitwise. It's just so that everybody would understand the amount of work we have to do, because there's no other parties supporting OS2 in all these libraries, like XML libraries, like FFmpeg libraries, like the development tools, like the compiler, the GC compiler, and the C library, libc, and all other tools, and the whole tool chain is just not there in terms of OS2, and no one cares about OS2. There is not a single developer out there besides us and people who help us, just a couple of other developers. So basically everything besides the drivers and the operating system itself is made by us. It's really a lot of stuff.
I'll move to the next slide. One of the things that we also try to emphasize is that I think that from an outsider, somebody that starts to compile for mostly Linux code on OS2, in most cases the compile system is, you could say, broken. With that, Dmitry, I think, would agree. What that means is that in a lot of cases, libraries are missing, they're not current, or make files, etc. Everything needs, in some cases, needs manual tweaking to get it compiling, which is all a very time-consuming effort, since nobody else is maintaining the stuff except a few other people like Paul Smedley and Co from South Korea,
Right.
and Albert Paul, or Greg Young, but there are very few people that are doing the bulk of the work. So,
and I mentioned just to demonstrate and to explain why it takes so long sometimes to have a new release of some new piece of software. It's because of that. It's because of there are only a few people, only like 2 or 3 developers working on this or that library or project, and they can be really huge, and this is why it takes so much time.
okay, we'll go to next. In the meantime, I'm just taking a small break here to see on the IRC channel if there are any questions, or are there no questions, Martin, currently? Oh, sorry, wait. Okay. Not that I'm aware of. I'm not certain. I think Paul Smedley or somebody else asked around if there was interest for that, but I am not certain about that.
We have plans to work on Perl in the near future, actually, because we needed it for something else. I don't remember, but I remember Subun mentioning that we need a new port, and indeed the current one is really old. But as I mentioned, we have a lot of other stuff to do, and since we didn't need it ourselves, we didn't care about that. And if there is a demand, we will of course have to work on that, especially if it will be a showstopper for some other project or something like that. But yes, it's really an old version, and it requires a boost indeed.
Okay. As you've probably been aware, some of the projects that had manpower really required to keep it going is all the work that has gone into the whole Qt project. One of the key things that as a community we should really look at is how can we use our resources more effective. It was already decided about 2 or 3 years ago that Firefox development had to be suspended. It was too time intensive, and it gave too little return. Bitwise Works picked up and started working on Qt5, which is part to also port the WebKit DLL, which is basically the new engine that translates incoming web pages in a website that can be displayed on your screen. For that has been a journey within itself. It required a new version of the GCC compiler to be brought out. Paul Smedley had already created a version, but from what I understood, it required some more patches to be fine-tuned. Get that into work. You had to do updates to libc for white space characters, I think they're called.
Yeah, this was one of the things that were required by the new Qt version, and that were missing from GCC for years. And from libc for years. So I had to make them available in libc first, and then GCC could also make use of it. So yeah, it was a long journey to get a current version which is suitable for building Qt5. And there was more than just white character support. There were a lot of stuff, other stuff that was also missing. So it was quite a road.
Okay. What was the last version of OpenOffice that was released? Was that 4.17, or is there now a new version out?
I don't remember the last version we did. Sylvan would know better about that. I barely touched this project because I have a lot of other stuff. So I'm not sure, but maybe there was 1 or 2 newer versions.
I've gone further to the next slide. So you've already started working on your own libc fork.
Yeah.
That has required also extensive updates to not only accommodate the browser, but to also fix other things.
Sure. I've been doing libc fixes here and there almost constantly, and everyone can check that by looking at our GitHub commit log in the libc project on the GitHub website. So yeah, libc is our version of libc is quite old. Its development just got stuck when Knut Osmundsen stopped actively supporting it. So it was like a few years behind of the current stream. So I had to fix all these glitches here and there to make it usable for the current versions of all the software out there, including Qt5, including all other ports, including OpenOffice itself, because it needs a newer GCC compiler as well, and the newer GCC compiler needs a newer libc library, and so on.
Sorry, can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, but something is wrong with your screen.
Oh, sorry, wait, sorry. Pardon there. I think that's better.
Yeah.
Okay. The whole Qt project has also learned us one valuable thing as a community, and that's just like with OpenOffice, you need to keep the port current. If you start falling behind, you need more time to pick up again.
It's more complicated to have a new version, right?
The whole Qt engine, the release of that has been more or less according to the original time frame that was presented by Voice and Bitwise Works. And the reason there are two components, basically, there's Qt, and to put it simple, that provides window elements like a menu, a PM window in which you have the browser displaying data. And then there's the WebKit engine, and that is a huge deal. The current compiled version is 250 megabytes. It's huge. And that has recently been finished. Let me switch over to the Qt web engine. How long does it currently take you to compile the WebKit DLL, Dmitry?
The whole DLL takes something about 14 to 15 hours to get it compiled. Yeah, it's a debug version. Release version is a little bit faster, like 12 hours maybe or something like that, but it's still quite a bit of time. And because of that, if I change something in some core library like libc, for instance, or like GCC, some GCC headers, it causes almost a complete rebuild of the whole bunch of source files needed for Chromium, and that's hours and hours of compiling, and it explains also why it takes so long to move forward with that.
Okay. A lot of the other libraries also have to be updated, like FFmpeg, that's used to display the that is used to display. Sorry.
To display video streams, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Recently you told me that you had to modify libcx again because the WebKit engine was expecting memory management to work in a specific way that the OS2 kernel does not provide.
Exactly. Chromium uses shared memory quite a lot, and we didn't have an API. OS2 didn't have an API. libc didn't have an API that suits the Chromium requirements regarding memory management. So I basically had to introduce a new API for shared memory that satisfies all the requirements and use in Chromium. Once I did that, we got a working version of it. Yeah, so it was quite an important step. And without that, we would be not able to make it work at all. And it took like a month or maybe 3 weeks to have it done, including testing and all other stuff.
The second slide we've already displayed last year, but the bottom line is that it's always an uphill struggle to port software to OS2 because we are not a supported platform in any projects like Linux, Mac OS, or Windows. And this is not something that's really new in that retrospect. I mean, basically for the last 10 years we've already been facing that, but just like with the GCC compiler, the current version that was up until recently in the repository of NetLabs was version 4.9, I think, was it not?
Yes.
And that's about 6 years old, and we get to see as the community that on some places our tool chain to compile software is simply running behind, and that's something that has made the development of this new browser take a whole lot more time, because we've simply done stuff that was never done before.
Right.
I also can tell that the Falcon browser, we've decided to drop that for now, or maybe permanently, and switch to the other browser. What Dmitry found out is that porting the Falcon browser will require to port a KDE library from Linux to OS2. And what was your estimate how long that would take?
It wouldn't probably need a couple of months or something like that, and it's a wild guess without looking under the hood. So it's quite a big piece of software called KDE framework, which they did to support all other KDE software. So it's quite a big and basic, but something like 2 months, and without any obvious benefit for other projects, because it's not widely used besides the KDE world, and we don't belong to that world. So I don't think it makes sense to spend these 2 months, given our limited resources, to port KDE framework. So this is why I think it's porting Falcon is not a good idea, especially given that we have quite a nice Otter browser as a replacement.
What I'd like to say again clearly, on OS2 World, I've seen several people discuss what browser to port. I think Dmitry would agree with me that at this moment in time, people should understand that with the whole WebKit browser, the concept of a browser itself should be decoupled from the rendering engine. What I mean with that is that effectively there are different Qt web browsers, and with Firefox you only get the rendering engine from Mozilla, but with the WebKit engine is the rendering engine of the Qt DLL set that does the work in the background. In other words, it's not the browser that really matters that's ported. It's true, certain things like keyboard shortcuts and certain add-ons, those things are for a lot of people something that they would like to have. Our viewpoint as Bitwise Works and OS2 Voice is that as time will progress, and there are a lot of people already experiencing it, the primary argument for us is we want to have a browser that can display pages on OS2. The add-ons are very nice to have, and for some people are a requirement, but the Firefox browser 45 will start to run into more and more trouble, and I keep getting reports from other people as well that is simply becoming more and more difficult to display certain web pages.
From my experience, the Chromium engine is much better than Chromium engine on OS2, and it's already quite noticeable, I would say. Even when I use this test browser on OS2, this test Chromium browser using Qt and the Chromium engine, it behaves much better than Firefox. It's smoother, it's faster, it has a better rendering quality, and it does not lock up the PM, which is also very important. It really feels lighter and faster. Feels lighter and faster, in my opinion, at least. Even this test version, and as you mentioned, it's really not important which browser we choose, because which Qt browser we choose, because every one of them will use the Chromium engine anyway, and pages will be rendered by the Chromium engine anyway. So the browser in this regard is just a wrapper around this engine. It's just a high-level UI, like the menus, the shortcuts, etc. So all the hard work is done by Chromium, and its JavaScript engine looks much better than Firefox one. It works just better and lighter and faster.
In case people missed it, I've seen different results, but to be honest, a couple of years ago, when you would call, for example, your bank and say that you were using Firefox, they would say, oh, well, it's not working. Oh, sorry, we'll fix it. But the market share of Firefox has been dropping like a brick. I've seen some estimates that that's now down to 5%. So I don't hope it's going to happen, but there is a chance that Firefox will simply disappear off help desk lists of being a supported browser. The current WebKit engine that's used in the Chromium browser and our upcoming Qt browser is also used by Microsoft Edge.
Yes.
Basically, OS2 now has a rendering engine that is simply industry compliant and has a market share of roughly 85% of browser usage. So now the other reason that this proves that this is a rendering engine and no longer just stuck to the browser, Dmitry and I have looked very briefly at the Telegram program. Telegram is a WhatsApp replacement, which is much more privacy conscious than WhatsApp, owned by Facebook, and it's also one of the few messaging apps that is completely open source. All of the libraries and DLLs can be compiled on OS2. With the current version of the WebKit DLL and the Qt engine, we should be able, with the help of Vimbrul, to actually get webcam and audio support to work on OS2. Now, when this could be done or when this is finished, but I think, Dmitry, that you would agree with me that this is a feasibility that might work, getting WebKit compiling.
If we put video and audio calls aside, it's definitely a work of a couple of months to have Telegram on OS2. It's not a problem at all, given that we have Qt and given that Telegram desktop version is written in Qt basically. And if you use Telegram for desktop on Windows, you are using a Qt version of it. If you use non-Mac Store version of Telegram on macOS, you are also using the Qt version of it. So, and you will basically have exactly the same experience on OS2 once we build it, once we have it built. And it's not there is no any technical issues that would prevent us from doing so. We just need a couple of months to have it done.
Hey. There was one thing I'd like to say to people that said that it couldn't be done. I'm not here to say that I want to prove people wrong, but what I do want to state with a lot of passion and commitment is that I think the OS2 community can achieve a whole lot more if a specific goal is set, and once the goal is set, that we stop wasting time on revolving door discussions, because if it wasn't for OS2 Voice, there wouldn't have not been another browser for OS2, and we would have been stuck with Firefox 45. In different forum discussions, people said, well, what if Bitwise Works quits? Realistically speaking, it's 2020. Who would have told you 5 years ago that we would be running Arca OS in the near future, very likely on UEFI equipment? I'm not trying to be blunt or rude or disrespectful to anybody, but what I'm trying to say is that I think it could be considered a miracle and a pat on the shoulder of the community that we persevered and that we are pushing the platform forward. Despite being 30 years old, I think it's certainly a round of applause that the people in the community that contributed to the browser did so, and that we will be demonstrating it very briefly so that you can actually see it for yourself. In fact, we hope to be releasing the browser in the next couple of weeks to the general public so that everybody can test it for themselves. So this is a word of encouragement. Yes, it's true, you can debate if a certain direction is the right way, but I think as a community we spend so much time discussing stuff that at a certain moment you should just put the shovel in the ground and get going. And we've done that with the browser, and as you'll see, it's working a lot better. I will skip the portion of the GCC libc factory from this slide because we've basically already discussed that.
Yeah, we've mentioned quite a lot about that already, so no need to repeat all that.
The bottom line is that there is a lot of work that goes into the.
There is a lot of work which is not seen by the general public. I would put it this way.
I think Dmitry would recognize that OS2 Voice, or basically me, that I've been the pushing locomotive behind keeping the funding going for getting the browser on track.
Right.
And in last year's WarpStar, we've already kind of made a statement that the new browser would basically go behind some sort of a paywall. Now, we very much understand that people expect software that's open source to be ported free of charge and the binaries be available. I've recently, together with Adrian Geschwend, done some research, and basically the browser funding has been funded more or less by between 50 and 70 loyal donators that have been donating the vast chunk of the money to get this project done. And a lot of people are, that's their right. We don't want to take that away from them. But we recently analyzed the Apache weblogs of rpmnetlabs.org, and we've seen that in the month of August, during summer break, there were about 500 to 600 unique IP addresses of people using Arch Noah Package Manager to download updates. That's a pretty stark contrast to how many people are donating. So,
yes,
that needs to change. And as I've always said, free software doesn't grow on trees. We've already made quite clear from our point of view that porting software to OS2 is not a matter of downloading the sources and clicking run or making compile. It needs money for that. It is not yet set in stone. Let me first of all say, the people that have provided sponsorship to the browser, these people will not be forgotten and they will get access. When the new scheme will be put up and you are somehow missed out, please either contact me from Voice or somebody at Bitwise Works and we will instantly give you access. Depending on how much you donated, we will probably provide you 1 year or more free of charge access. The basic way that this is going to work is that the browser will be available free of charge. All source code unconditionally will be available from the different repositories, so everybody can compile this. Effectively, what we're going to introduce with this is exactly the same what Bitwise Works has been doing with OpenOffice. You pay for the binaries and you pay for the support.
right.
The browser will be available free of charge, but there will be a fixed homepage glued into it, and that will go to a web page informing you that you are encouraged to pay for the updates, and if you want to get support. We're considering of about 30 euros a year, and with that based, we can also continue work on keeping the browser current, the WebKit engine, and that way keeping OS2 current on browser support, and not having to go through the whole problem again with a browser that's slowly going downhill. I think, Dmitry, you will agree with me that web standards like HTML5, that the development of that will only go quicker within the next couple of years.
Yeah, of course. No doubt about that.
So the people that would then donate it or would buy access for this would get access to a password protected repository, and in there would be the versions of binaries without the browser, without the fixed homepage in it, and possibly we would delay updates of the browser to non-paying people with a couple of months. That will most likely not happen in the initial period, as we first need to get to a browser that's really production ready. And I think we're getting very close to that, actually, as you can see with the upcoming demo in a couple of minutes. So, but yeah, we feel that this is the only way to encourage people to support the project. And We think that there are many more OS2 users out there because those 500 to 600 IP addresses, that was in a summer vacation in August. And a lot of people also don't use ArcNoa Package Manager. So we think that there was a whole bunch of other people that would hopefully be endorsed to sponsor it. If people think that Bitwise Works is something that makes you rich, Sylvan and Herb put in a lot of unpaid hours, and Sylvan regularly provides sponsorship himself of between 200 to 500 euros a month. All the source code again of Bitwise Works is fully accessible to the general public. Everybody can compile it except Enjoy Firewall. So, and I think Dmitry will also underline that, when we introduce this new browser model, sources will not be withheld. When the sources are updated, they will go instantly into the public repositories. So if there is anybody that wants to compile the binaries, they are free to do so.
They're more than welcome, sure, of course. Every bit of source code is and will be always available online, free of charge for everyone, and we are not allowed to do otherwise, but we are bound by the license agreement, by the GPL license. So, and all our modifications to these, to all the software we do, we also have to publish, and we do that. So every bit of OS2 work which we do is also available online, free of charge for everyone to review, to use in their own projects, and to do whatever the license allows them to do. So yeah, this is an important bit as well.
Okay. This is the first public demonstration of the new browser.
It's not the browser itself. It's a test application from Qt. It's a demonstration of the Qt web engine, of the Chromium web engine. This is the right way to put it.
That's right. Yes, thank you. There are a couple of things that are not working yet. Sound is not working, but we already have a required library for that. We've already been testing it with some other web pages like YouTube, CNN.com, the Dutch public news website nos.nl, and they are all loading, and you can actually hit the play button on the video item and it will start play. However, due to something not working in the browser or the WebKit engine, the video only plays for 2 to 3 seconds and then stops.
No, however, it actually plays further, but very, very, very slowly, like for 1 second in half a minute or something like that. It just goes on very slowly, something with the time frame or with handling the time of the video stream. I think it's something in Chromium, and we will eventually fix that, of course. Right now, it's one of the few limitations.
The other thing, before I give a demonstration, I really need to warn people for: do not run on the Pentium 4 CPU. You are free to do so, but I think Dmitry will emphasize that this new web browser is very resource hungry.
Yeah, well, any new browser is very resource hungry because website creators have a lot of JavaScript, a lot of other things like that, which make most of the websites really, really, really heavy, especially those with fancy looks, with a lot of graphics, a lot of animations and stuff like that. They're really expensive in terms of CPU and memory usage. Something has changed on the screen.
Yes, I'm switching over to demonstration mode. Can people see me on the webcam now or not? Sorry.
Yeah, we can see the webcam, yeah.
Oh, sorry, wait. No, it is working. One moment, please.
We can see your closet. Yeah.
Yeah, one moment. I need to move the tripod here. Okay. I want to actually use an HDMI grabber, but the best thing that I could come up with was putting the browser on my laptop, this is not running the VM. This is on a bare metal OS2 installation. And the question that I really have for other people is, are there any web pages that you have experienced over the last couple of days or weeks that you want to see loaded on this web browser? I frequently use LinkedIn also for promoting OS2. I was not able to log in with Firefox 45 for more than a year. And here is my LinkedIn page loaded on Firefox, on the new WebKit engine, and it's actually loading.
Firefox engine, it's a Chromium engine.
Yeah, sorry, Chromium engine.
Inside a test application from Qt.
So one of the things that you can see, for example, if you go to YouTube, but as Dmitry explained, that is currently not yet working, is that it can load website. I'm just opening up any random. Sorry,
Roderick, can you move your camera to the left a bit? Because you're showing half of the screen, the other direction. Right. Stop. That's better.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just picking any random video here. Let me just take something so that you can see that the video actually plays. Now the thing is that what you can see here is that it actually is decoding the first couple of frames, and then it quits. As you can see, it's slowly moving, and that's something that we still need to fix. But we've already been testing with other websites that
everybody can notice how fast is the UI, the YouTube UI. You can instantly call the the timeline, and the buttons. They appear quite fast if you move the mouse in the right area. It's really working very well. It's just the time frame. It's just the time which is running very slow for some reason. But it's something I will definitely fix too.
I am trying. I'm now currently looking at the IRC channel. Is there anybody that wants to see a specific website load on new browser that they were not able to load on their other browser? I think somebody's answering yes. OpenSpotify.com. Oh, Ibrahim asked that. Oh yeah, okay, that's Spotify.com.
Well, it may crash or something like that, so it's just a warning because we didn't test it a lot. Well, it even worse.
Here's the Spotify page. Now, of course, the thing is, you might need to log in and then actually before you can actually test it. Somebody else also asked for Slack. Did you test that, Dmitry? Slack?
No, actually, I didn't try it, but you can try it right now.
I don't have my login credentials ready. Is it slack.com?
Yeah, slack.com. There might be some tests, some demo logging or something, but I'm not sure. Well, I'm not at my computer right now, so I won't be able to help you here. But, well, I'm pretty sure it will work.
You recently sent me an email from... Yeah, I've been actually testing some websites yesterday with Steve Levine. One of the websites that's really a troublesome one to load, I think, is AT&T.com, was it not, Steve? We tried US Bank, that's correct. What you're seeing on more and more of these pages are what I call HTML5 elements. Oh, I think this one isn't. I'm not certain if this one is actually working. Oh, yeah, here, you can just load the entire page. And one of the things that you're seeing more and more with Firefox 45 is that these new type of design elements have an issue with loading the site correctly.
Right.
And that's not, or you get, for example, empty buttons. I don't know, Dmitry has been working on fixing some other issues. I could, for example, not log into that's a typo. I couldn't log into my Dutch bank account. I don't know if it's now working faster because there was still an issue with the with browser cache. But this website also doesn't load. I'm sorry, I'm not going to log in online with my bank credentials. So.
There's another question.
Yes.
They're asking if this is the other browser that we're looking at, or
No.
if
It's a test application from Qt. It's a demo browser from a set of Qt examples for the web engine module. It's called Simple Browser or something like that. It's a program with hundreds of source lines or something like that.
okay. Is this a browser that is going to be releasing like in 2 weeks?
I hope so, yes.
Okay.
Well, it's very possible to release in 2 weeks. What about auto browser? Well, we have such a plan, but it will show up how it will go on. It needs a few libraries. It needs one Qt library, which we still miss. But it's a very simple library. We just didn't have a need for that. So yeah, it's doable if we're lucky. If we're not, well, it will take a month or something like that.
This is a Reddit page. Ibrahim asked if that could be loaded, and here you have the Reddit page. Now, one thing I must warn you for is that. Sorry.
Can you scroll up again? Because there is a normal HTML5 animation and it just works. You can scroll down again. There is an animation. Scroll a little bit down. Well, this is the video.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Happens. Maybe it's out of memory or something actually, because it needs quite a lot of memory.
It wasn't up that far actually. But the Reddit web, Ibrahim asked if the Reddit page could be loaded, and yes, the Slack page. Oh, okay. Andreas, Andy B is asking if Bitwise Works, if the Slack page can be opened.
But we already went to the Slack website. It opens.
No, this is on the IRC channel. They are requesting if this page can be specifically opened with the messages. It's this URL. I just typed it over.
You can try.
Oh, you need to sign in here to log in. I don't have my credentials in this new browser stored yet, so.
You can try to turn it off and provide your credentials. I mean, switch the video off temporarily so you could provide your credentials if people insist on trying that right now. Why not?
Well, I also would like to warn people about the about this laptop. This is a dual-core laptop with an Intel Centrino in it. So for this browser, I would not call this a high-end machine. So just keep that in mind. I think it's safe to say that you would need at least something of a quad-core or something of an i3 or an i5 to really run comfortable with this thing.
Yeah. Quad-core is much better for Firefox as well, for any modern application, because they are really greedy for CPU juice and for other resources.
I'll try and log in with my Google credentials. They're useless anyway, so.
I'm not sure if it will work if you are not a member of that channel, but you can try.
Well, I'm not certain if it's going to. Let me try that. Oh. You also still had to fix something on a HTTP issue, right?
HTTP issue, what's that?
HTTPS. It's complaining that my browser isn't safe.
Okay, yeah, well, no. Well, there might be some issues in that regard, but I need to look at that specific case because on all websites, on all HTTPS websites. I tried it with, it works really well. So that might.
I'm just reading back through the logs here. Let's see here. Somebody
Maybe
also asked about.
Maybe our certificate database is outdated or something. I need to check that. But with the websites I tried, it works.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, the question is when this is going to be released. We are considering to start making this available, but also in parallel, we want to start putting up the infrastructure that people can start sponsoring. I think we're now at the point that the browser is starting to become very usable. Some of the quirks still need to be ironed out. Oh, yeah, Neil is asking, blondguy.com, yes. Neil is asking if we can use his company webpage. That I think will just load fine. That website, I think in terms of HTML5, it's pretty simple. Here you go, Neil. Here is your Blond Guy website.
Mm-hmm.
I can just click on the button here and see if that warp stock.
Is that with HTTPS?
Let me go back. Oh no, it's not. Let me switch on HTTPS here. Now it's with HTTPS.
Thank you. Firefox cannot do that.
No, and that's probably contributable to the fact that it's something has to do with TLS 1.3.
Correct.
I know there are new TLS 1.3 builds available. Probably Firefox 45 will just remain in maintenance on OS2 for the foreseeable future, but stuff like TLS 1.3 support, that can be added. The real issue is basically displaying these new types of rendering parts, and that probably, that code. Sorry?
And JavaScript as well.
Yes, so are there any other websites that people want to test, or? I'm just waiting here for a couple of seconds to give people an opportunity, because there's a delay in the stream.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, I think that was one of the websites that was discussed on the Google Docs.
I'm pretty sure it will work, and as far as I remember, I even tried it once or twice.
Is it docs.google.com?
By the way, while you are logging in, I can mention that I tried Gmail with that, and Gmail works pretty well. If you remember, Firefox has an issue with that. When you try to compose a new mail in Gmail, it starts eating the CPU like hell, and it's basically impossible to end up to finish your letter. And there is no such a problem with Chromium. I can easily send messages and do whatever I want in Gmail already now.
Well, for some reason, it's not. When I go to docs.google.com, I instantly get a page that I've got an insecure browser for whatever reason.
I have no idea why, because for me it worked. By the way, there is a reason why Slack complains and why Google Docs complains, I guess, because currently we have Qt 5.13. It's a little bit outdated, and it uses Chromium version, which is deprecated by Google. And they are checking for the Chromium version and see that it's quite old. It's like 2 years already or something like that, which is considered very old from their perspective, and this is why they complain. And once we update Qt to Qt 5.15, we will get a recent version of Chromium, and this problem will have gone.
Okay.
and it will not take a lot of time to do that because there are no any significant changes in there. It's basically just a matter of recompiling everything. We
Okay.
will also do it in the upcoming weeks as well. So this is what I think is the problem here with the Slack and with Google Documents. But you can
Okay.
try Gmail instead. It works.
Well, I think it's going to have the same problem then, I assume, because as soon as I want to log in with my account, as soon as I want to log in with my account, it stops working.
That's strange because Gmail I tried recently and many times.
Here, it's this website when I try to log in with my... No.
And yeah, I have to log in through this accounts.google.com subsystem as well, and it works at my machine. At least I don't know.
No, it's still complaining that the browser or app is possibly not secure. So, okay, are there any other paid?
Is there a button to skip that test?
Nope. There's only a button, more information available. There's nothing to skip it.
Okay, maybe. Well, I surely tried it like a week ago or something like that. But it's really possible that they added this version to a bunch of deprecated ones just a couple of days ago or something like that.
To give other people a bit of an impression of what it can do, if you, for example, go to a website like abcnews.com just to pick a page, I seem to remember that website is pretty extensive in terms of what loads. Then
yeah,
you get this whole list of items that gets all loaded, and it's these types of pages that are very difficult to get loaded in Firefox. So
no, it's much better here.
Yeah, please don't talk about politics.
Right.
Yeah, so well, I think these days every web page that you try to load has content of the U.S. elections. I don't think it really matters in which country you go. So
yeah.
Okay, that wraps up
Maybe
our presentation.
We should on your machine with email because it should just work, and it does on my machine.
Yeah. Darcio is asking if there's going to be a strategy to migrate from Firefox to the new browser.
Like the bookmarks, yeah. Like reading bookmarks, yeah.
Bookmarks and passwords.
Well, it's doable per se, but well, Chrome has such a function, but this part is proprietary, so we would have to invent that ourselves, and I don't think that we will spend time on that, unless the Otter browser already has some import functionality, which is possible. I didn't check that, but it's possible. You can try a Windows version of it to see if it's there or not, and if it has an option to import bookmarks and passwords from Firefox, then we will have that. If not, I'm not sure. It's not a major issue here, so it's doable, but it would require some working hours, which we don't have, I guess. So, but it can always be done by hand. It's not a big issue, in my opinion, at least.
Darcio is asking what plugin/add-on support is like. Well, that depends on the browser. And also for plugin support, if you're talking about browser plugins like Flash or Java support, I'm afraid that is as much as dead as a doornail, because the Flash support on Windows the plugin from Adobe is going to be phased out at the end of this year, and all tools to support Flash are going to be deprecated by Adobe this year or next year somewhere.
Already deprecated, and most browsers have they completely cut out Flash support at all. And I saw a message from some browser about that like a month ago or something like that. It was either Opera browser, I don't remember exactly, or Chrome on macOS. So I'm pretty sure it's gone from.
Alex Taylor suggested I load a website called apotex.com, which is filled with JavaScript, and here you can see it loaded, and it loaded in a couple of seconds. But please keep in mind that this is a slow laptop. I knew that the topic, and then I think it's just about time that we wrap up. I know that the topic of data migration of data from old browsers and ad blocker, etc., comes up. But the key element for people to understand is that yes, we wanted to support those add-ons like ad blocker, but our first primary goal with this was to at least provide a browser, because having add-ons on a browser in a year time that will not render any pages, the choice is yours, that you either have to boot into a different platform, and that for voice and Bitwise Works was the key element. And we're seeing more and more people that need to reboot to another operating system or to perform other tricks to access a web page. And that for us was always the primary goal here, was to get a browser that can at least display a page on the platform. And then the other things for us, to be very honest, were a secondary thing. If you need to boot up your Windows or Linux box or grab your mobile to watch a website, what is the use of an add-on that works in Firefox 45?
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, as far as I remember, the Otter browser has an ad blocker built in. So it's not a plugin, it's a part of the browser, which gives a lot of benefits in terms of performance and functionality. I didn't go deep in that topic, but it's at least there, and it's not it's as good as the popular ad blocker plugin on Chrome or Firefox. So we have that there, and there might be other things built in, like some password manager or something like that. There is a lot of features in that browser, with done as native extensions to the browser itself, not as plugins. But there is also a way to support Chrome web extensions, which are basically plugins for modern browsers, which every modern browser supports right now. And this we will have at some point. There is even a message roadmap from the Otter developer, which states that this support will be added soon. And of course, as soon as it's done there, we will get it for free.
So yeah, Lewis also posted that. So what we're trying to bring the message across is that we feel that this was the best effort that we could do to bring OS2 back on a current browser. And if people want to choose using Firefox 45, but I think that the writing is on the wall that the amount of pages, depending on what you access, will start to decrease its functionality, especially websites of banks, government using HTML5. So I think that we should wrap up and thank everybody for their time and attention. Please consider making a donation via Voice or Bitwise Works. You can find that on os2voice.org/membership.html, or go to bitwiseworks.com and make a donation there. Again, I think that as a community, we've done the impossible. Nobody thought that we would get a new browser, but you can see it running here. We hope to release that somewhere in November, beginning of December, so that everybody can use it and they can do a test ride for themselves. So, are there any other questions?
No, there are no more questions.
Okay. Then I'd like to thank everybody for their time. I'd like to thank everybody there across the Atlantic for putting up Warpstock here in November as an alternative for a real one. Hope to see you guys at least next year. I'd like to thank everybody here for joining this presentation. And again, I'd like to thank everybody who has contributed financially to the browser so that we could finally bring it to this, in my opinion, bit of a historical journey. I know how much work Dmitry has had to put in to accommodate all sorts of things that were outdated on OS2. So it has certainly been an epic journey, but as you can see, it's working. So, okay, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us, Dmitry, and everybody stay healthy. And I hope to see you guys hopefully in Frankfurt in May next year if the whole COVID stuff allows that. Okay, I will be signing out now and enjoy the rest of Warpstock. Thank you for your time.